Hi friends, it's Carly and I am back again with another video. So you have to forgive me right off the bat, everybody, for the complete and total lack of chill that I'm going to have the entire time I'm making this video, because today is something very different than I've done before and it's a really special treat. And as a small creator, it's something that I honestly never thought I would get to do. So I am just really excited about it. Today, for the first time ever, we are going to be taking a first look at a Hasbro Marvel Legends figure that is to come out at a date later to be decided. So I got my hands on a pre-production sample of this figure. I'm going to show you what it is. We're going to talk all about him. I'm going to show you my regular reviews that I normally do, and then we can all speculate together about what this might be a bigger part of, when it's going to come out, and everything we could possibly want to know. I want to, before I get started, thank Dan and Ryan over at Hasbro for thinking of me for this, and Danielle on their PR team for being such a great contact. This is so awesome, you guys. I'm just really excited. And without further ado, let's go ahead and look at the sample of the forthcoming Omega Red. So this is the actual pre-production sample figure that I was sent by Hasbro. We can kind of get a good look at him. You will recognize almost everything on this figure from the 2018 Sauron Bath production of Omega Red, but there are some critical differences. And I think for me, having both in hand, we're going to talk about both. I think that the changes are really good. Not only do I know for a fact that people are still out there trying to get this 2018 Omega Red and like having trouble doing it, but I think that the subtle changes are just going to make it a better collector's item overall, and we'll see what you guys think about that. But this is essentially a reissue of the 2018 figure with some upgrades, some changes to the deco, and an additional accessory. So let's go ahead and take a look at our Omega Red. So for those of you who don't know Omega Red, he is a villain with all sorts of tie-ins to the X-Men. We actually did get to see him briefly, I think, in Deadpool 2. He's sort of been pulled around the Marvel Universe, but mostly focuses on the X-Men. He was a part of the KGB Super Soldier program after having already been a part of some underworld crime with the Hand. And his weapon that he uses are these carbonadium tentacles that come out of his hands. This is the new tentacle. We'll talk about the differences between it and the previous version. So these actually shoot out sort of like Wolverine's adamantium claws, but carbonadium is kind of the Walmart version of adamantium. So when the KGB tried to make his adamantium appendages, they actually are continually poisoning him. Because he's a mutant, his body is sort of able to fight that. But it really makes his tentacles kind of an interesting feature of the character, because not only are they actually poisoning him, he also uses them along with his death spores to siphon life energy from his enemies when he's fighting. So they also are sort of bringing that life force back into him. I bring that up because I think part of the artistic choice made with this new version of the figure ties into that really well by changing the color. So we'll talk about that a little bit. So Arkady Rosovich is his name, and he, actually you can see like his white skin is the result of problems with the super soldier serum, as we're all very familiar with. He is incredibly tall. He's like 7 feet tall. He weighs 400 pounds. He has all kinds of military training, really no scruples. So he's a really awesome villain, and I'm really hopeful that at some point, you know, he seems to be one that has sort of gotten like lost by the wayside, that they created this really awesome origin for him and put him in some really cool situations with the X-Men. He's like always seeking out the carbonadium synthesizer, which is known as the carb synth, which will help him to fight the poisoning of his blood from the carbonadium appendages that he has. So he has a mission. He already has like background with characters that we know and love. He has background with Iron Man, Spider-Man, and it just seems like every time something is going to build up with him, that his storyline sort of falls off, and then he just ends up like cropping up randomly in different places. So it would be really cool to see something a little bit more extended with him. And I'll talk to you at the end about what I'm hoping to see in figures. I really don't know what else is going to come out, but I think there's some really cool possibilities with this reissue. So let's look at the changes that were made, first of all, from the original figure. So this is the 2018 version. He's incredible. And it's so funny that the day that I found out that this was the figure that I would be getting, on one of my toy groups, someone had just acquired him from a friend and said that they had been trying to get him literally since 2018. So it's really cool that people that might have missed the 2018 Sauron version will get a chance with this new version coming out hopefully soon. I don't know this, they haven't told me anything about when it will be released, but I'm sort of thinking it's going to be fourth quarter because we already have the second wave of the AOA figures coming out, so it would make sense for him to follow that. But that's just my guess. I'm not sure when he'll actually be coming out. So the first difference that you'll notice is the paint deco. So this version is red, white, and silver. The new version is all red and white. And I think the first thing that really stands out to me that I like the most is that they chose a more vibrant sort of cardinal red to go with on this new version. There's a couple reasons for that. One, it really pops in photographs. I think it has much more of an ink on paper comic book type of feel for me. The versions of the character that I saw drawn like this and slightly more comic-y and less realistically kind of resonated with me a little bit more. But also because when you're dealing with this deep red, you can see it even from here. It's really difficult to match them from material to material, in my opinion. So his body here, his thighs, and his legs are all just a skosh off. They're all just a little bit off the shoulder pads. They're all just a little bit off his headband. All of those colors are just slightly mismatched. And you can see it clearly. It's very easy to see. Whereas with this more vibrant red tone that they're using on the new reissue, everything is completely uniform. This is going to make this figure so much easier to photograph. He's going to look great on film. I do have photos that I'm going to be sharing on my website of the figure as he is supposed to come out, so you guys will get to see that. I'll put them on all my social media. But I think the decision to go with a lighter, more vibrant color that was easier to make uniform was a really smart decision. And I think that you can see just right off the bat that like the uniformity is just so much better on this new version that's coming out. The second thing that they changed is they took a lot of the metallic detail out and really sort of refined it to specific areas. So the places where it really works are on his harness here, which is still removable. It's a snap harness that just slides off of his body. So by reducing the amount of metallic detail on this, I think they were able to really get the most out of it. So the places that are metallic, it makes sense. It's bright, it's shiny, it looks really good. Whereas on the old one, there's so much that it begins to dull out and look just gray. So you can see a really nice metallic, shiny belt buckle here, but then there's the gray next to it. Whereas everything on this figure, the new figure that's coming out, looks like metal. So I think that was a really good choice. Where I think fans might bring some criticism to the change is with the tentacles, which are, as we said, made of carbonadium, which is sort of a ripoff of adamantium. On the original figure, they were silver. Now they are white. So the reason that I mentioned that I think this was a good choice is just that it speaks a little bit more to the lore of the character. So as I said, the carbonadium tendrils that were installed into his body are constantly poisoning him. He does have a bit of a healing factor naturally as a mutant, and his death spores allow him to absorb other people's life forces. But these tentacles are a part of his body, for better or for worse. And having them put into his body is what caused his skin to be turned chalk white. And he really, overall, is kind of a mutant cyborg super soldier vampire. And it all fits together in that theme when we see his tendrils more as a living part of him rather than just a metal appendage that shoots out. It's a little bit more difficult to think of him as someone who has been through things to get to where he is when they're just these like metal whips that are sort of like a Doc Ock or something, which incidentally is I think where these tendrils came from. But so I think that making them white really brings home that these are a part of him. And they are also sort of what makes him a little bit more of a monster. let's not get it twisted. He was a serial killer and a sick person before any of this ever happened. But I really like the choice, and it was an artistic choice that was made in the comic books as well. There are versions of him both ways. I think if you're a really big fan, having both is makes sense. It's the thing that you would obviously want. But if you weren't able to get the first one, this one still works really, really well. And I just think it tells a much more clear story about how Omega Red became who he is. So the other differences that we see on this figure, again, so we've removed most of the metallic detail other than on his harness here. We took it off of his knee pads. He has white boots now instead of red. Again, this is true to the comics. You can see both versions. His hair sculpt is a little bit different, but you'll notice that he comes with an alternate head. So this is the original head from 2018. And we get that one. So we have a version of that head here. Yeah, focus, there we go. But we also get this awesome screaming head. So you can see, I really love the sculpt work on these. I feel like originally they got it right. They stuck with that. They didn't really change very much about the paintwork from the original to the new. And I don't think they should have. They got it right. So the difference will be the additional head that you get with the figure, and the white tendrils are going to be a little bit different. There is a slight difference in the hair sculpt if you're looking at the sides of the figure. So this is the original here. This is the new head, but the hair on both of them are basically the same. So we can see the differences. Here's the, let's see, here's the new one. See him? And then here's the original. So really what I think they've done with this deco is make a much more photographer-friendly figure. Just even looking on my camera here, you can see the consistency of color, the pop of the detail, the white on red, rather than having everything dulled down with these graying metallics, I think is really brilliant. And the metallics pop even more set over white. And look at the sheen on these. I mean, they're really shiny. They look really, really good. Again, this is a pre-production sample. There will probably be a few minor changes, but I think if this is the overall look, this is a really great improvement to an already really good figure. And as you guys know, it wouldn't be me if I didn't put him through his paces. So one of the things right off the bat that I really like about this figure is it feels like he is prepared to do anything that you would want a figure who is a trained fighter and military person to do. So he is a skilled martial artist, a skilled trained fighter. He's also ruthless. You know, he does some really horrible things. So his body is his weapon, not in just that he has his tentacles, but he is trained to use his body as a weapon. He's 6'11" and over 400 pounds. This is a fighting machine. So having the butterfly joints on his shoulders that are really just buttery smooth, that is the one thing that I'm noticing more than anything on this figure, is that all of the movements, all of the joints are just smooth as silk. They move perfectly. And I think that this is a really smart update. It feels like taking this figure from 2018, which was already amazing and really popular, and updating it with just these subtle changes shows that Hasbro has been maybe listening to us when we're talking about the things that we're repeatedly seeing that are sort of a bother. Like when we're seeing, you know, bodies that don't pose the way we would want them to. That is not a problem here. When we have joints that don't work, they're not the way they're supposed to. That is definitely not a problem here. He's flexible. Yeah, it's just, it feels like a really smart, really well thought out update. And I think that it's subtle enough that there could be some people who think that they didn't really do anything. But if you get both in hand like this, you can feel it's just a different, it's a better product. It's just more refined now. The color is better overall. It's gonna photograph really well. The poses are gonna be great that you're gonna get with him. And the alternate head is sick. It's super scary looking, and I think it's gonna be really cool. So that is that on our Omega Red. I, again, am so excited to have the opportunity to give you guys this first look at this figure. He will be posted up on my Instagram, on my Facebook, and I will be writing a short write-up about him featuring some photographs from the PR department at Hasbro on annoyingyouwithfriendship.com. And I really want to know what you guys think this is going to be a bigger part of. So again, as I said, I don't know what wave this will be a part of. I don't know when it's coming out. I was really excited and kind of crossing my fingers that it might be cool to see an Omega clan with Omega Black, Omega White, and Omega Red. That could be really fun. We've got a Sabretooth coming out. We already got Wild Child. We know there was a big fight between them. So there could be, I don't know, some tie-in to the X-Men universe, which would totally make sense because that's kind of where he lives. There could be some tie-in to the Red Room. I mean, there's so many possibilities and potentials coming out. Omega Clan is honestly what I want to see the most. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think this is going to be a part of, when you think it's coming out. Again, I think Q4 is reasonable, possibly Q1 next year, but that would be kind of a wait. So hopefully sooner than later, fingers crossed. And I can't wait to see what else is coming out. So this is our first look at Omega Red. Let me know what you guys think. Hopefully I have covered everything that you're interested to know about him. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments and I will do my best to answer anything that I know. It'll really just be about the physical figure, but I'm happy, you know, to always answer comments. And thanks again to Hasbro for giving me the opportunity to show this. I hope you guys are having a great day and stay tuned. Make sure to check all of my socials for more information about this Omega Red release. Have a great day. Bye, friends.